Welcome to
Boring
but Effective. Welcome to another episode of Boring but Effective. We are joined by a man who's probably only second to Billy Brownless as the Mayor of Geelong, the great Gareth Kent. He's a director at Preston, Rowe, Patterson, property valuers. He's a board member at Agrival, one of the members of Prop by the Bar, a successful podcast. He's done the CEO sleepover in the Geelong jail as part of his former, when he was the chair of Lazarus Community Centre, which is for homeless, disadvantaged persons and charity. And last but not least, he's the dad of three boys. Gareth, welcome.
Thank you, Dave. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It's always good to have a superstar on. Now, tell us, boring but effective. So tell us, what are some of the boring stuff that you do at PRP to make sure that we get the effective things going with the property valuations, and what's your role down there?
Well, so my role is I'm the owner of the business in this franchise, of the Geelong, Warrnambool, Mount Gambier franchises of PRP. We are a franchise business. We've got about 34 franchises around Australia, and I own the ones down here through Southwest Victoria. Boring but effective. I think that the main thing is making sure you've just got good people in the right places. Is the key to any good successful business. And I think it might sound a bit boring, but just making sure your people are happy and got everything they need and then getting out of their way is the best and most effective way of being a good boss in professional services.
Yeah, you got to have that trust in the good people, and that can you just got to have that checklist that you continue to go through day after day after day with them, and make sure that everything's ticking the right boxes, and a happy employee is a good one.
In professional services like ours, we're not trying to sell anything really. We're just being paid to provide a professional service, which is an interesting sort of dynamic, because you're not building anything or creating anything as such. You're providing things, and most of our guys have been to university, done degrees, that sort of thing. They're pretty professional type people anyway. So it's really just giving them the tools they need to do what they like to do. And getting out of their way, as I
say. Yeah, you look after the minutiae in the office, and they'll go and do the valuing for you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's great. So now, as part of my world, I guess there's self-managed super funds that love owning properties, so they need your services every year.
Big part of the growing part of our business, the self-managed super fund now. It's a very changing landscape. Especially with the new rules that are coming with the government, requiring valuations to be done instead of agents' advice or other things. And we've seen huge growth in that part of our industry.
Now, Gareth, give us an insight into how do you actually go about valuing a property? What's the PRP process there?
Well, there's lots of different properties, lots of different property types, I should say. There's markets within markets, and within those markets, there's lots of different types of properties. And really what it comes back to is the highest and best use principles. And that's what is the highest and best use, most financially feasible, most likely, most legally permissible uses. And that really then defines how we value the property. There's multiple ways you can value different types of properties. A residential house, a very simple example, is an apples to apples comparison, making sure you're directly comparing the subject property to a similar type of property that's being transacted in the same market as the subject you're looking at. Now, that can be very tricky. A lot of people think, that's not that hard to do, but actually making sure you understand the market that a property exists within and comparing it to the right market is actually where the skill is. So that's my simplest example of valuation. When we get into the more complex and specialised work, which we do a lot of, we look at things like income, what sort of income can be produced from a property, and therefore how would that income come about, who would lease it, who would rent it, what turnover should the property be able to produce. Really, the only value a lot of commercial properties have is the income they can return to the owner. So we look at it from that perspective. So there's lots of different ways we can do things. We work under now, as valuers, it's become a much more broader industry, and we work under so many more different legislations and acts of Parliament than we ever have before. So we're working under the Financial Reporting Act for one property, and we might be working under the Mortgage Act for another property, and they can have very different definitions of value, and therefore very different definitions of how we go about the valuation. So look, it's very important if you provide a valuation, whether it's for a super fund or from your bank or even on your rates notice, to understand that valuations are never the same. They're done for particular purposes, and they're done a certain way for those particular purposes. For example, when you do your municipal rating valuations, which we do, we have 8 contracts here where we're doing the municipal rating from half of Victoria, and we're doing mass appraisals. So we're valuing 200,000 properties with one keystroke in an algorithm type database, where if I'm valuing a property for a mortgage, I'm valuing that particular property, looking at the particular aspects of that particular property rather than a broad brush approach that the municipal valuations might be used for. One, the municipal approach is used just for taxation purposes, and the valuation for a bank will be used to provide security so that you can lend money. So that's really the difference of how we value things is more varied now than ever before and more specialised than ever before.
It sounds like that was a very comprehensive answer to how you come up with the final figure, I guess. And the only thing I could think of there is if you've got a factory, right? And if you've got a factory that is basically you can do whatever you like with it, as opposed to one that's been fitted out to do something that is very specific to that nature, I guess that would be something that impacts on their cash flow and your ability to...
Absolutely, like a specialised, that can work both ways sometimes. It might be the cost to bring that factory back to a place where it can reach a wider marketplace for a higher value might be a cost that's higher than the benefit you get from doing so. So you've got to look at those sort of aspects of things. And specialised purpose-built facilities, things like motels, pubs, they can't be used for much else than that particular use. That you would have to knock them over to try and do a different use. So those particular properties, we call them specialised properties, and they need to be looked at in those particular uses in situ, such as we might look at turnover, or income, or occupancy rates, tariffs, what they can get per night. At your local pub, we look at how many beers can be pulled per hour, how many patrons can be in particular areas of the pub, that sort of thing. So yeah, it does get particularly detailed.
It's if you've got a pub in the CBD in Sydney compared to one in the back blocks of somewhere in Victoria, same property, I guess, but a very different valuation.
Also very different markets. So you might not even worry about that one, to be honest, because the markets are so far apart. You would say, well, that property, the same purchaser that's buying the pub in Sydney probably isn't going to buy the pub in Dunkeld. So you're looking, it's markets within markets. You've got to be very careful when you're comparing like with like.
Fantastic. Now, what's the future look like for PRP, Gareth? What are we doing in the next sort of 3 to 5 years, mate?
Well, onwards and upwards. I think the future for PRP is it's really probably more easier to talk about the future as valuations in the business in this changing world of AI and things like that. There's a lot of talk that values could be replaced by AI, that just like accounting roles or legal roles in the world. And I think that the good thing we've got as valuers is that we actually, every property is different, and we need to go actually out on site and look at those properties. And that sets aside the ability to use AI to replace us as such. So I think we're well protected there. I think also the fact that although the banks would like to push towards a desktop approach evaluation where they sort of don't need that inspection, they're looking at it from a very small micro lens. And I think that might be suitable for a certain small grouping of properties, but the majority of properties are very different one to the other. So I think, as an industry, we're only going to be growing. I don't think we're going to go backwards. I think AI isn't the big threat that everybody thought it was. I think one thing we're learning about AI and data is that there's so much data now in the world that the actual value in that data is meaningless unless it's qualified data. And I think now, if you could add humans to the data, humans can qualify the data, valuers can go out on the site and confirm that property is there, that lease exists, that property is what it says it is, and match that to the data, then you've got some very powerful tools. And I think that's why our industry will continue to grow and continue to have relevance in the new and changing world. And I think PRP is well placed to do that because we've got a very unique structure in that all our offices are owned by the people working in them. And so we're the only sort of firm like that now left in Australia. Most of them have been corporatised. They're all owned in corporate structures and different things like that. But PRP has been able to keep our ownership structure within the offices, which means that we care and we live locally. We understand the markets, and this is where we live and care about. So we're well placed to take advantage of that AI change.
Absolutely, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Where There's businesses that have AI and they grow successfully, and there's ones that ignore it and they fail. And I think,
Well, I think if you've commoditised what you do, then you are at risk of being replaced. I think there's a lot of people in our industry that have commoditised the product of what they deliver, and that has the potential to replace them. But when you pull it back from that and go, okay, well, if we can add the local knowledge and the people aspect to that, and we can qualify that data, then that's so much more powerful, and then there's relevance exists again for that person to be involved in the process.
yeah, well, once you've trained it, so you know what you put in is going to come out really well, and you can be an efficient time saving efficiency with your report.
Oh, there'll be lots of efficiencies and time savings, but I think the need for valuations is going to grow, and I think the need for people to qualify data is going to grow, whether that be in accounting fields or insurance fields or evaluation. The need for qualified data is going to outgrow the need for data.
That's exactly right. I couldn't agree more, Gareth. Sounds like it's a really good future in the property valuation business for PRP, and all credit to yourself for growing a great business and a local business down there.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's good. It's been a pleasure to live and work in Geelong. It's where I love. It's my favourite football team. My kids have all grown up here and been born here and grown up here, and my parents and my family are all here. So, local is a big part of our brand, and it's been really quite, I think, a very unique part of what we do, and I think it's been helpful to grow. But I think the best thing about being in regional areas and regional communities like Geelong is you get involved with the community, and you get involved in the charities, and you get involved in getting in, coaching the kids at football, or helping on the barbecue for the local homelessness charity, or whatever it happens to be. The community spirit is what makes it a pleasure to do business and live here.
That's brilliant. Now, speaking of local delights, I'm sure you would have one of your favourite places to go. And what would be your favourite meal when you went to your favourite place?
Oh, look, I love a steak. I do love a steak. And there's a couple of very good steak places in Geelong now. We have, I think Emeralds is one of them, and we have another one called Eileen's. Eileen's is probably my favourite. Just the service is just top notch. The steak never misses, and it's beautiful. And that's run that's down in Newtown on the corner of the Trade Terrace, and it's a beautiful restaurant.
Fantastic, Gareth. Sounds good. Eileen's for a steak. We love it. And now, if you had the opportunity to take one person, living or deceased, to go to Eileen's with you for a nice steak, who would you take?
Oh, it's a hard question, this one. There's probably a couple, to be honest, that you'd love to go out with. I mean, I'd like to start the meal with probably with James Packer. I think would be a great play or Lachlan Packer, Lachlan Murdoch, one of those two. It'd be great to start the day with them, but I think you'd want to finish off with Warnie. I think you might be able to bring Warnie in towards the end and have a decent chuckle.
That sounds like a good combination. You'd have the business boys there to have a steak and pick their brain, and then go out with Warnie, and it might be Saturday night, but it's Tuesday when you get home.
Exactly. That would be something you talk about for a long time.
It absolutely would be. Oh, that's great. Hey, thanks so much, Gareth. Appreciate you coming on, mate, and giving us a really good insight into PRP, and all the best for the future.
Thanks, Dave, and congratulations on the program. It's fantastic.
Thanks, mate.
Boring,
but effective.